Welcome back, everybody, to the Star Wars podcast, where we talk all things Marvel, Star Wars, and everything in between. Please take a moment to check our show notes to find our social media, merch, and more. Today, we are recapping episode 2 of Loki, titled Breaking Brad. So if you haven't seen the episode, I would get out of here. And I'm here with a guy who breaks Brad every once in a while. It's Tommy Pizzullo.
I break Brad. I break bread. Sometimes I break a lot of bread. And thank you for using my official stage name, Brad. I will be going as that from now on. Is it true that you wrote the podcasting handbook, Michael?
It actually is. Yes, that would be me.
Oh my! Could I have your autograph? Oh my gosh!
I'm just impressed that somebody read it.
Michael, I'm doing great. Second episode of Loki. I'm still cruising. I'm still cruising on the Loki train. I see criticisms come up and I swat them away. I'm throwing bombs at these criticisms just like Docs did in this episode at the different timelines. Get rid of all of them.
Well, much like Mobius and Loki in this episode, I feel like we might be taking a good cop, bad cop to this episode because Tommy, I wasn't feeling it. There was not real one moment in the episode where I was like, this is exciting. I understand. I care. I was going along. I was like, it was almost like I got thrown into the roller coaster. I wasn't really on the roller coaster. I was like, well, I better just hang on because here we go.
Yeah. No, and I feel that. I think for me, it's like, give me Mobius and Loki just interacting, and I'm already sold. Like, just that's your bread and butter. But I do hear what you're saying. It was a lot, and there's a lot that they're not explaining that they just expect you to understand. And I do get those criticisms from the episode. But maybe it'll turn around for you. Episode 3.
Yeah, let's touch on this first. I'll lead with my biggest complaint.
Okay,
and it's Sylvie. I don't understand. Why is she so bitter?
I feel like I have the same complaint, but I feel like it's not ruining the episode for me, but I agree. It felt very much like they're trying to push this like bad relationship. And I'm like, I didn't feel, if anything, she should be apologetic to Loki instead of being very like, screw you, Loki. Yeah, I didn't get that part of it.
I mean, the last time they saw each other, they kissed. I mean, like it felt like things are finally like going well, and I don't know. It's just the fact that I don't. Maybe I need to rewatch that finale because I'm not connecting why she is treating him this way.
I think it was very much. I think that kiss was a breakup. Also, it's like their first kiss, but also a breakup. And I think that's what we're supposed to believe is like they were never going to agree on what Sylvie needed to do from her point of view. And so I think maybe she's mad that Loki didn't side with her. I don't know, but we need more. I agree. It's a weird jump from like the sorrow, like almost like sympathetic goodbye. It's like, I need to do this, but I don't want to do this, to now she just like, let me live my life. Get out of here. I work at McDonald's now.
Okay. Well, Tommy, can I go off topic for you for just a second? A good listener of ours had messaged me, CJ. She wants our opinion on some stuff. Have you been following any of the Marvel TV news?
No.
Particularly about Daredevil.
Oh, yes. I have seen the Daredevil.
Yeah, well, and again, I just saw the Daredevil stuff, but I'm being led to believe that there's other changes going on. With that being said, it sounds like they've scrapped a lot of the things that they've actually shot for Daredevil, and they're kind of reinventing it. What do you stand on? How does this make you feel? Is this good news? Is this weird news?
I think it's good news because I think it's connected to the overall news that like Disney is going to shape up how they make Marvel TV shows. It sounds like from the little bits I've seen, I'm trying not to see too much because again, I'm very spoiler, stay away. It sounds like there wasn't much of a plan. They just let people go off and do their things in these TV shows. There wasn't really showrunner. It was a mess, is from what I'm hearing. And so if this is going to lead to more crisp shows overall in a more connected storyline, I'm all for it. If Daredevil really wasn't, if the story they were starting to tell with Daredevil wasn't it, and they want to redo that, I'm all for it.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, and I totally agree. I feel like very seldomly does the MCU or Disney truly look inward at itself and say, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe this is a bad idea. Like, it just seems like it's a rare thing for them to second guess themselves. So, sometimes when you're making like multi-million-dollar projects, it's worth being like, okay, do people like this? So I do appreciate that aspect. But Tommy, I'm gonna build a world for you, and I think
Okay.
into this world a little bit, right? You consider yourself a writer, true or false?
True.
Okay, so you're
Or a wannabe, but yeah.
well, we would just say you're a writer. You're a writer. You're a writer for an MCU show, okay? And then the strike happens, and you're with the strike, right? You agree with a lot of the things that are happening. You agree that you deserve more. You agree that there are things that might be threatening your job, and it's something you're passionate about. And you go out on the streets and you picket and you actually care and you strike and you stick up for your friends and your coworkers, and you're all together in this union. And then you finally get a little bit back. You get a little bit back from these big corporations, these billionaires that would said, "Oh, we don't care about you. We don't care about your homes. We'll just let you strike until you starve to death, basically." But you
Yeah.
finally get a little victory. You finally got it, and you're going back into office on Monday. You got the MCU show. You're there, and they're like, "Hey, bro, you're fired. We're taking this in a different direction."
Oh no.
That's what happened.
Yeah, and that part of it, like I'm looking at it big picture, but you're right. Like when we really get down to it, it is pretty messed up. And I hope there was a better way. Like they said, "Hey, we'll bring you." I hope there's more to it, because if that's the case, where it's just like, "All right, see you later. We're going with a whole new direction." Like, give them another chance. Do something else. Give them direction. Don't just throw people away, especially after the strike that has been affecting so many of the people in Hollywood.
And I was being a little cheeky, and I know people did actually lose their jobs, so that
Yeah,
is important. But at the end of the day, we want good products, and they need to make those decisions to give us that.
both things can happen. Uh,
Yes.
treat the writers with respect and also give us good product.
Yeah. All right, Tommy. Now that we're off on a tangent, you
No,
want to
it's
talk?
good. We need
Yeah.
to talk about these soapbox. We need to get on our soapbox every once in a while, Mike.
Yeah. So, well, speaking of soapboxes, I don't have a segue there, but you want to talk about Loki?
Yeah. Speaking of soapboxes, Loki probably likes soap.
Yeah, and there's
He seems
definitely
pretty hygienic.
there's a box in that show somewhere in the background.
Definitely.
Maybe on the streets of London in 1977 when we flash back here to see what's going on with Brad Wolf and Zaniac. This is interesting. It's an interesting approach. We kind of get some time travel here. We're going back to see is it X5 who has gone back in time, is kind of living out his life as a famous actor in the 70s. What did you think about this whole approach to the episode?
Okay, was X5 maybe again we should rewatch Loki season 1. Was X5 a huge person in season 1? Because I feel like they want us to already know X5.
I think he's brand new actually. If I'm not,
Yeah.
I think he either he's like a mega background character, or I'm pretty sure he's brand new.
Okay, because like it was cool. I like the Zaniac is a comic book reference. There's a couple other comic book reference. We got another Eternal. Anytime there's anything theater related, we see what's his name from Eternals.
Kingo.
Yeah, all the time. He's always there on posters. So it was fun. I think for me, again, it's that like this episode almost wanted me to already buy into Brad, and I was like, I'm just getting to know him. Like we're just going out on our first date. We're getting some smoothies. Uh, and so to your point of like this episode kind of that's how I felt a lot of the time in this episode was oh, I feel like I should already they want me to feel a way I'm not there yet.
Yeah, no, that's well said. They really throw us into this, and we're really because there's no real conversation about what they're going to be doing. We kind of just learn it through the action, which is always a little weird. I will say, throughout this episode, my complaints will never fall on Tom Hiddleston. I thought he did excellent in this entire episode. There's some great stuff coming up with him here, but this flashback in particular, you know what this has me thinking? Make him James Bond, baby. Tom Hiddleston, he can do it.
I could see it. I'm really liking Cop Tom Hiddleston. Like honestly, give me a cop show with Tom Hiddleston and Owen. They were great together. There's such a dynamic, like you talked about the good cop, bad cop. Their interrogation scenes later on are great. Like again, the chemistry there, I love. Tom Hiddleston in general has been doing an astounding job. And this opening scene, it's a lot, but it's like again, it's saved by the fact that Tom Hiddleston is just amazing in this role.
Yeah. So they they end up cornering him here. They want to know what he's doing. He's back in time. He's messed with his Tempad. It leads to this whole chase. Loki. We see a lot of Loki powers. I feel like this is kind of a return to form for Loki in this episode.
I was gonna say I feel like they listen to our podcast because there's this and another thing that I really feel like they listen to you, Michael. I'm like bring Loki back to his origin, make him this give him powers, make him this villain. Feels right up what you were saying. But yeah, the powers. I want to talk about this. A little extreme. I thought they really like made his powers way more powerful than what they were last time we saw him.
Yeah, it's interesting because we don't really we see very little of his powers in the first season. If I can't remember a point where he really was using them, but now he's doing like shadow techniques and making clones of himself. There's a lot going on.
He did some illusion magic, and that's all. I feel like they really tried to differentiate him and Sylvie in the first season. It was like Sylvie does all the enchantment type things, and his is more illusionary. But yeah, the shadow is specifically the thing that like he gets giant shadow monsters that can hold people against the wall.
That was wild. I thought it was cool. Like, and again, it was menacing. This felt like something out of what was that holiday or the Halloween special, the Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf.
It's scary the way it was shot. Like, and Loki felt like a threat, and I was all about it.
Well, and it was stuff like this that started to make me believe what you were saying is like maybe he does become the villain of all this because this episode very much felt like he's not afraid to go dark.
Yeah. So I do see that being a thread throughout this season. And if it is, I will be really happy. Tommy, you mentioned, I want to go back to this real quick because you kind of brushed past it and I wasn't aware. Zaniac, that's a comic book reference?
Yes, I believe there's some phone guy, but I believe Zaniac is a comic book. I saw it on my Twitter, but I didn't look too much into it. Let me see if I can do some quick research. But it's a Thor villain, is from what I'm seeing quickly from this article. We'll see. Maybe he'll become Zaniac, or it's just a nice little nod.
Yeah. It almost feels like a waste. Like if that is like an actual villain, I don't know how you can make that make sense, but whatever.
Yeah. Listen, Marvel loves to throw out references that they never end up pursuing. Look at WandaVision with all the references to Wonder Boy and to the Grim Reaper, all those characters. For now, we never Mephisto. Do we have to go back to that, Michael? They love throwing out little references and never having it pay off into anything.
Well, I think the fan base has bullied them into Mephisto. I think Mephisto's coming.
Now. Yeah. We definitely we're like, you have to give us Mephisto or we're leaving.
Yeah. So, okay, well, let's go back to the TVA here. There's a lot of stuff. This is where the episode kind of starts to lose me. They're worried about the Tempad that was modded and Casey's getting involved with it, and they go see OB. I guess the best part of this, there was a funny moment. I don't even know if it's worth mentioning, but he was like, he's like, is this a higher priority than the temporal meltdown? And they're like, oh no, please focus on that. So there's some good OB stuff here. We get the notebook here as well. Any other standouts? What did you like all this stuff on the TVA?
I'm glad OB's staying around and being a prominent character. I actually like their little group. Again, I would watch a cop. It reminds me kind of Flash, where Flash, the TV show, had their ensemble and it was villain of the week. I wouldn't mind that from this show. I like their group of OB. You got Casey being their tech guy too. You got Hunter. You got Morbius and Loki. I really like the dynamic of the group. I think they're doing a lot of cool stuff here. And we learned a little bit about Miss Minute. I think is something we could talk about here. It's what is Miss Minute up to? And Renslayer, it definitely feels like they're going to be the big bad of the season, or at least an antagonist of the season.
Well, before this, just a thought experiment real quick before we get into Miss Minutes, because I do have some comments on that. But, okay, let's stop down here. Most favorite and least favorite of the crew. If you cut one person from the crew, and if you give one the gold star, who's it going to be?
Oh, man. It's hard because I do like all of them. I think you have to cut either OB or Casey because they kind of fill a similar role there. I will say Hunter, they still aren't giving her a ton, and I want more from her because I think she could be that fun, the heavy. Hunter could be their heavy, and I think that's what they're trying to set up. But I need more from her.
Yeah, like Hunter could have had a part in the whole Brad Wolf mission in the start, for instance. I ask you to say I have a strong opinion about this. Mobius, I've said it before in episode 1. This is my favorite character in the show. He's a great part of the team, a lot of fun. He's got like moral standing and all of this, which, you know, he seems like the crux of this team in that way. And then Casey can go. I'm over Casey.
Wow.
I don't like Casey.
Okay. I mean, out of Obi, if I had to get rid of Obi or Casey, I'd also pick Casey. But you didn't love his little fanboying over Obi. You didn't like.
Yeah,
I think they're setting him up to be a bigger character, Michael. So I feel like
Casey.
you might be. I think so. Listen, Casey went from a nobody last season to they're actually trying to include him in the plot. I think Casey's gonna have. I'm calling him now. Casey's gonna have a big moment in this season. He's gonna save the day in some big way.
So here comes my next theory. I think Casey's big moment is death. I don't think he's making it out of the season, and I think he could fall victim to OB. I think OB's bad.
You think so?
Just, there's, he just seems to know a lot. It's convenient that like he's one of the only people who didn't have his mind wiped. Like there's just some sketchy stuff going on with OB. He was a little cutthroat at the end of the episode 1. I don't know, man. I don't feel good about it.
I don't disagree. We discussed this before, and this is where like I know you weren't loving this episode. Episodes like this could be elevated for me if like OB ends up being like evil, and like we come back and we see the little hints in these kind of like episodes that didn't feel like they were giving, but maybe it was the whole time. Maybe it was OB all along.
Oh, no.
We'll get a whole musical number.
Listen, I would actually put money on it. I don't know if anybody wants to make a bet with me. Hit me up at the come on. Let's
so many bets.
I mean, if you're not loving the show, you might as well do something.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's turn it into a game. Let's have some fun here, guys. Okay.
Star Wars pro gambling.
All right, so I think Miss Minutes. We talked about Miss Minutes for a second. I don't know if there's much more to say besides the fact that I think that Miss Minutes is definitely a baddie. I think we kind of figured that at the end of season 1, but still seems to be in cahoots with Renslayer. It's kind of getting to the point, kind of like at the end of Ahsoka. Do we have too many villains here? I mean, we got He Who Remains, we got Renslayer, we got Miss Minutes, maybe OB. I don't know.
Well, it's too many villains out there, but not enough doing anything. There's no one like actively like, you know what I mean? Like the only one that really was nefarious in this episode was Dox. Out of everyone, she was the worst. And I know a lot of people are comparing her to Thanos, and we'll get to it what she does at the end. But yeah, it's like they're just like in the background, like Renslayer is doing something, I guess. She's on the timeline. Miss Minute, I guess, is with her, but we haven't. Maybe we need to like jump to see them to make the threat known. But I will say, to your point, like that's the thing. I don't feel threatened. Like I don't feel like I see that the TVA doesn't know what they're doing because no one's leading them. But that's about it.
Yeah. So. Okay, well, let's move on to our first interrogation scene here with Brad, Loki, and Mobius here. They really the thing they're really trying to get out of him here is where's Sylvie? That's what they want to know. They want to know where Sylvie is. Also, they want to know what's going on with the Tempad. How is he able to basically time travel? But there's a lot of stuff going on here. Brad just begins roasting Loki in the worst possible. Roasting Loki like the Redditors roasted my tattoo, right? So I think that, what did he call him? A loser. He's a villain. He never helps anything. How'd you feel about all this?
I mean, Brad knew what to hit on. I believe like he brings up the mother, like, right? Isn't that mentioned or something? Maybe that's later on, but he hits hard. I feel like on both Mobius and Loki. I don't get Brad's intention here. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he just roasted them, but like if you're trying to get home or your new home, right? Like that's his goal. I don't know if like attacking them is the way to go.
And this is another issue of mine. Why is he protecting Sylvie?
I don't know if he is. I think he's protecting Dox's plan. I think that's Brad doesn't want them to know that.
Okay.
And I think he also wants Sylvie to get blown up by these bombs. And so he doesn't want them to save Sylvie and also doesn't want them to figure out the plan. So the longer he can stall them, I guess that's his plan. Is like he wants to go back, but he also is still loyal, because if he's loyal, he's going to get to stay as an actor. This is what I'm saying, and what you, I think, said too. There's a lot of like assumptions we have to make about the show, and there's a lot of like almost too much going on, too much people's motivations that we don't get from them, that we have to just assume what their motivations are.
Yeah, and once you said that, it started to make a little more sense, and maybe I could have drawn those lines on my own, but I think the problem is, like, I didn't care to. Like, like, I was just kind of exhausted by the fact that I had to draw those lines, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm being nitpicky, but...
Well, but also it's like, they also did such a job of trying to get us to think like, no, I guess Brad really doesn't know that there's a bigger plan happening, to just like pull the rug from. It's like they spent the entire episode of us being like, okay, maybe it was just like Brad wanting to live his life, and it's like, no. When they're at the McDonald's later, it's like, no, he does know something else is happening. Now we finally get to know it. It's like, what do we do? Why couldn't he tell that later? Like, what changed for him? Because he's now on the place where it's going to get blown up, so now he has an actual threat, I guess. But so I think some criticism is warranted.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Brad.
Brad who?
That's showbiz.
That wasn't great. I will say,
it wasn't great, Tommy.
I like that joke.
I need it explained to me, like a lot of things in the show. I didn't get the joke.
You didn't get the joke because it's like Brad who, and the idea is like that showbiz is like, if he's an actor, who knows who he is? That showbiz, it keeps moving by. You get forgotten about easy. Brad who? We forgot about him already.
Okay, but is that fun? Okay, I get it. That's cute. Is it funny? Is it a funny joke?
I think it's a dad joke funny. I think it's very much in that realm of like, it's cheeky and it's like you roll your eyes, but that's what I do 90% of dad jokes.
Okay. All right. Hey, I'm a dad. I like dad jokes, so I'll take it. I didn't even, I wrote it down. I was like, what are you talking about?
It definitely took me like a second, but then I was like, oh yeah, it's because actors literally get forgotten. We love them and then we throw them away so quickly.
Yeah. So I guess an interesting part of the end of this here is, he's roasting Loki a lot of the time, but then he turns it on Mobius and he's like, Mobius, you have a life on the timeline. But like Mobius snaps, he hits him. We really see him lose his cool here, which is interesting because a lot of this episode is Mobius trying to calm Loki down. Loki doesn't need to be calmed down. It's Mobius.
Yeah. I think this is going to be the core of Mobius's storyline. I think going into this season is, he now knows there's another life for him, and he's like actively choosing not to pursue it. He's one of the only ones who's like, no, this is my life. The TVA is my life, and that's what I want it to be. I don't care about, that's not me. And it definitely hit a nerve, what Brad was saying to him.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost as if there might be something deep down inside of him that is like repressing something. And I do think we're going to dive into that eventually. I feel like he might know more than he's leading on. With that being said, though, I also understand, we'll kind of jump into the next scene here where they go get pie, but they're kind of talking about it. I kind of get Mobius where he's like, I don't remember that life. Therefore, is it my life? If you came up to me right now and said, bro, you have a whole nother life over here. I'm like, I don't care. I've got kids and a like I'm doing I have a podcast. I can't just leave this life, So I kind of relate to him, but at the same time, he seems a little sensitive about it.
Yeah. And I think it's like, it's such a complex question because it's like, for a lot of people like Brad, he's like, the TVA told me I didn't have a life, so I didn't have any other options. Now I'm being told I have an option, and I should be able to pursue those options. So I get that point of view. I also get Mobius' point of view from what you're saying of like, I don't have any memory of that. That's not my life anymore. This is my life. So all this is doing is just complicating things, and I don't want it to be complicated. It's easier and I think that's part of it. Why he's being so sensitive is it's easier for him to focus on this. It's easier for him to fix the TVA, focus on this and not focus on the unknown, because that's a scary thing for everyone.
I do feel like we're going to get this explained and we are going to see what his life was. And it's probably going to have some parallel. Like, yeah, he likes to stay and help the TVA. Maybe that's because subliminally in his past life, he wasn't able to help another situation. I think we're definitely, I don't call me out on that one.
Yeah, they mentioned it too many times now, and there's the show in general is focusing on that, right? Like right away in the first episode, we get the sense that it's like, hey, there's more lives for you, and the TVA in general is very mixed on should we pursue that or not? Should we pursue our other lives?
Okay, Tommy, what about the pies?
Oh my gosh, Michael.
Was this a pie room, the whole room, or was it just
Yeah.
pie o'clock?
Okay, so it was all pies, and it was all one pie. It was all key lime pie.
The worst pie, might I add.
Oh, you don't like which? Okay, real quick, top 3 pies or top pie if you can't think of 3.
Chess pie, pumpkin pie, apple pie.
Okay, I put pecan. Pecan is one of my favorites.
I'm not a big. I see the appeal, not for me.
Yeah,
I think like blackberries up there. Blackberry, like hot blackberry pie with ice cream. That's good.
Yeah, all of these had to be with ice cream. I mean, that's my grandmother used to make a great chocolate peanut butter pie, but very rich. It was delicious, but very. You could have very small slices of it.
Is cheesecake a pie?
Ooh, I think it is more a pie than it is a cake.
Okay, because that might be my top 3.
Are you more pie or cake? That's another question.
Me as a person?
Yeah, you as a person, you have a pie in front of you, you have a cake in front of you. They're your 2 favorite, your pie. Favorite cake, your favorite pie. Okay.
Yeah, easy. I don't like cake.
Yeah. I know one couple who's the one guy is adamant about pie and his wife is adamant about cake. And it's a huge issue when birthdays come around because you have pie or cake.
I guess whose birthday decides. I feel like
I think that's yeah, you know. but they're so passionate about it. Even when they get their cake, they're like, "Oh man, you should love this cake. This is better than pie."
Yeah, I see that. Yeah,
I think I'm more a pie person.
Yeah,
but
you like.
But back to the I like cake. I like most desserts.
Yeah, let's talk about the pie room. What the hell is going on here?
So I think something's up with these key lime pies. I think it's the way they're keeping their memories or something. Because why is there only one pie? And have you looked at a key lime pie, Michael? It's like a real life key lime pie.
I mean, again, I try to keep my distance, but I know what they look like.
They're like a yellow. They're like the way you make key lime pies and the way the consistency, the egg yolks and everything. It does not turn out green. These pies, first of all, crust terrible on these pies. I would give this pie like a 2, and that's being generous in general. I'm very passionate, if you can't tell, about these pies. Also, it's like neon green. I will never trust anything neon green. So I think this is my theory. These pies are going to come back up. It's going to be some plot point because these are some nasty looking pies.
And I guess that's my issue is like all key lime pie looks nasty to me. So it didn't particularly stand out. But what does the green mean? Is this like the Hulk serum?
Maybe.
Are we getting
oh no.
Yeah, come at me, bro.
Maybe.
TV at me, bro. No, I don't know. Listen, all I'm saying is neon. If your key lime pie looks neon green, there's an issue.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll put a pin in the pies. We'll come back to that. That we do have another. We go back to Brad here, and Loki has he's got a torture device. He locks Mobius out. He's ready. What do you think about the box? He puts him in a box. This is the box we've been talking about, the soap box.
Yep. Oh, there it is. All right, go back to the top. Let's connect that. I liked this whole trope. I liked the Mobius was in on it from the beginning, right? Like he knew this was the trick that he actually was talking about. I don't know why he referenced the trick. Brad wasn't there, and he's like, I told you he mischief, but not this mischief. It's like you didn't. No one knew that you told him to be mischievous. So I'm confused by that plot point. This also felt like a Hoover. This was a big old vacuum, and it makes boxes. I was a little confused by the contraption and what it actually did. Like I thought it was gonna suck them up into the vacuum or something, not like make a. They didn't even use the Hoover. It just ended up being the controller that was the most important part.
Yeah. So, So he does. He starts to shrink the box here, and we finally get some information about it. She has a new life, and this is he's gonna go off and find her. I guess there's some other stuff that happens before they go find Sylvie. I think we might have touched on a little bit. I think this is where Casey and Obi meet. Casey wants an autograph. OB mentions we got to get Miss Minutes back to fix the temporal thing. I don't. This one, I'm just whatever. Something happened.
We need Miss Minute for a couple of things. Well, this is the thing. Without Miss Minute, it's like everything. When you get rid of technology, people have to start doing things themselves. Actually, doing the calibrations. They talk about it a lot. Is like pings are getting taken care of slower because they don't have Miss Minute to handle a lot of the logistics of it. The temp pad is also a thing where it's they find that Brad's is modified, but they don't know why it's modified. He's telling them it's to block trackers, but like that doesn't seem to be the case. We find out later what it's for. But yeah, it's a lot of, and that's the thing. This is a lot of lore that 6 episodes is not enough time to fill us in on. And they're shouting a lot of, it's really cool stuff. But it's a lot to try to get in the amount of time they're doing.
Yeah, it is a lot. So it's kind of like Miss Minutes. It's like, what is Siri witnessing for? Like, oh, where's Siri? Like everyone, there's no Siri on their phones.
You just set off so many people's phones.
Hey Siri, hey Google,
no,
hey,
stop it.
Echo, Alexa.
No, stop, you monster. No, that happens way too often during podcasts where I'll say something that sounds similar to that word, and then I am trying to listen to you, Michael, and then I have my computer popping off trying to help me, and I'm like, you can help me by leaving.
Yeah, Cortana is another one. That's one that she likes. I guess she's not listening because she didn't just come up, but she bothers me. Go away.
Go shoo.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to 1982 Oklahoma.
Would you choose Oklahoma in 1982 for your getaway?
No, heavens no.
Me neither.
It's a
choice.
choice.
Maybe Hawaii, like a nice time in Hawaii.
Even if you're still working at a McDonald's, at least like
yeah, not Oklahoma.
McDonald's is a choice too.
Not to hate on our Oklahoma listeners, but like Oklahoma, what are we doing there?
I think I can check how many Oklahoma listeners we have, and it's probably like they do the less than 1, which I don't know how that's possible.
We're gonna get so much hate comments from our Oklahoma listeners. But like, listen, Wisconsin, you can at least like be like, oh, they love cheese, right? Like, isn't that Wisconsin's thing? What is Oklahoma's thing?
Well, here's the thing. It's like, it's not an insult because I live in Tennessee. And I wouldn't choose Tennessee. I was just born here. Yeah. My family's here. I got a job here. I just happen to be in Tennessee. I don't like stand for Tennessee. So I don't think anyone's passionate. Even if you are from message us, Oklahoma listeners.
Yeah, let us know. What is there? What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on?
What are we missing out on?
I went to Indiana. I talked about this a little while. I went to Indiana, and I went to their state fair, and the whole thing is like. It's about animal farming. That's their thing. The theme of Indiana is like farming animals, and I was like, I kind of want to be a vegan now. Like, this all feels really gross. Like
passionate about like, oh man, how do you farm your animals?
Yeah, they like love it. There's like tractors and like livestock, and I'm like, they're gonna die. You're gonna eat them. It's a lot. Yeah, but hey, I guess if I'm gonna have a steak. Or a key lime pie.
No, but I do stand by this is off topic, but the idea of like you should at least know like if you eat meat, know how it's done or do the process once in your life just to understand the
do the process.
Yeah.
So you get a hunt if like, hey,
one time, just to experience it so you know what it's like, because I think we take for granted nowadays.
That's true.
Animals, because it just happens so quickly. You just go into your fridge and you pull out some ground beef, but you don't know what happened to that cow. I mean, we know, but we ignore the facts. Listen, this is a whole different podcast, but
yeah. So my kids are vegan. That was a choice by Sydney. She wanted them to be vegan, and they're growing up vegan. And the deal was always when they're old enough to understand what they're doing, they can choose to have the other way. And so in my mind, I've always been like, okay, we'll show them a documentary or something, but maybe I need to have them go slit the throat of a cow and then say, how do you feel?
Well, first you need them to bond with the cow. So you need to spend like a year, get a cow, and then grow attached to the cow. And then be like, all right.
This might be the most off topic we've ever been, Tommy.
And it's very dark. I'm so sorry, listeners.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, Oklahoma.
Speaking of cows, McDonald's in Oklahoma.
Yes. So Brad takes them all here back to see Sylvie, and Sylvie's not happy. Loki's actually kind of nice. He goes up, gets in line. She's like, I have a break in 5 minutes. Well, I'm like, God, just stop being mean to him.
Yeah, it's just intense. I think it's like you're seeing one of your exes, right? Like that's and it's yourself. I love the Mobius was great in this scene with Brad and also just being like, listen, it's really imagine being in a relationship with yourself. All right. It's a very tense situation we're dealing with here. I loved Mobius in this and the whole like I buy you a shake, like
he's eating an apple pie. Yeah.
McDonald's apple pies do slap though. Like that is not a hot take.
Yeah. So, but also Brad starts to get a little antsy here. Like, he's not really happy about being here right now.
Yeah. Do you think he's a Burger King guy? Do you think that's why?
Maybe he's a vegan.
Oh yeah, that's probably yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's not why. We know that Brad knows the truth that this place is gonna blow up.
Yep. He starts telling him everyone's gonna die if we stay here. Sylvia enchants him and kind of sees that they're about to purge all these branched off timelines. So they want to get the heck out.
Yeah. If you had a power like Sylvie, where it's like you could just see, like if people are telling the truth now, I feel like I would use that all the time. Like I would never trust someone because I'd just be like, I can just read your mind, or I could do this and know the actual truth. I don't know.
I feel like that would drive me insane.
Knowing the real truth
all the time.
Yeah, but knowing you could do it and not doing it, would that also drive you insane?
Yeah, I don't want the power. I don't want that.
Well, you like get rid of the power. Let me live my peaceful life.
I want to fly or anything else.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, it sounds great, but I just feel like I would end up using it all the time, and then I'd be like, I'd become like Dr. Manhattan, where I'm like, what's the point of communicating with humans? I'd be like so annoying about it.
I do think, anyone with that power would become very socially awkward, just because you don't need to really socially interact if you have that power. Maybe that's Sylvie's problem here. Maybe that's why she's so cold.
Yeah. I wonder if I'd still podcast if I had that power. Probably.
Yeah, probably. Why not? Yeah. Do you think, going back a little bit about Sylvie, because I'm just thinking about this more with Loki, I do feel like she's a little tough because it's like, listen, last time Loki saw you literally threw a portal. He doesn't even know if you actually killed He Who Remains. He's assuming. Like, he does warrant some questions, right? Like, it's like you could be a little like, how did you find me? Get out of here. But also be like, I do understand. Let me answer these questions and then let's never see each other again, kind of thing. That's how I feel like it should have been. She was a little intense.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what happens here. They end up teleporting back to Dox's location, and they're trying to stop them. Loki and Sylvie are using their powers to take out guards, but then they end up watching all the timelines get destroyed. What else? What else happens here at the end? I feel like it just kind of ends from here. Casey gets a hit on his Tempad from Renslayer. I guess might see Renslayer next, finally.
Yeah, I think in a way, and obviously I don't think this was Dox's plan, but in a way, by destroying all the timelines, they made Renslayer have to reveal herself because she probably was on one of those timelines and had to escape. This is pretty dark.
Yeah,
and I think it would hit more if Dox was set up better in season 1. If Dox was like their ally or something, or like was set up and then having this turnabout. Like, to me, she's just a generic person that happened to make this choice, but like we barely know her, right?
Yeah. Also, like, what is the extent of the destruction she's caused? And it's not every timeline, right?
I believe it's every
timeline, but not every multiverse.
It was.
This is where I get confused in the MCU, man. Because I'm like, where's Andrew Garfield? Did he just die?
And this is the problem why they needed a plan going into all this. They need to think out all the aspects of it, because we are asking these questions. I mean, at the end, all we see is the sacred timeline, right? On that map, we see all the other the ones that they've been dealing with, all these timelines that have been sprawling out. it looks like they've all been destroyed. I guess maybe there's other ones that exist out there. I don't know, Mike. This is the problem. It's in retrospect, you're like, wow, that's so impactful. But it's like I don't really know what the stakes are. You haven't set up any of this. You haven't set up the stakes. We don't know these timelines. Yes, it is sad when I hear that there are millions, bajillions of people dying. I haven't spent time with these people. I don't know them.
Kind of sounding like docs right now.
I'm saying I want them to make me. I want to feel crushed at this moment, and I don't agree with docs. I still think it's awful, but it's like I think if we're comparing, because a lot of people have made the comparison to Thanos snapping his finger and destroying. The difference where was our people were like half of our people got put out of existence. That was emotional. You feel that. You see the impact of that decision.
We see the characters that we knew that are now gone. I mean,
yes. I don't feel the impact of docs other than I saw it on the screen, and that was very sad seeing all those timelines disappear. But even if they flash to like one location where we see the bomb go off and see all these people, something, give me something here.
Yeah. So it seems like we also leave. Sylvie doesn't necessarily. She's not on board still. She leaves. She leaves, right? Like she's not still with Loki.
Yeah, she joins in to see the outcome. Gives some sass about the TVA can't be the defense. Look what they do, and then leaves again.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
And I guess to your point, I guess not all of them because it does seem that her timeline is still there. So.
Yeah, if somebody wants to explain this to us, so if we sound like idiots, I know we're supposed to be the ones explaining it to you. So if you feel like you got to figure it out, message us on Instagram. And
yeah, listen, we're just guys for the podcast. We have no degrees in this.
Yeah. So, all right, Tommy, that's the end of.
Well, did you see the last scene?
Was there a post-credit scene?
Well, it wasn't like post-credit. It was right at the end with Sylvie's back in her timeline. She's laying on her truck. The manager. There was like a weird moment where she's like, I guess not weird. She was trying to be nice, right? Like the guy was like, all right, are you staying here? Are you coming into work tomorrow? And she's like, yeah, I'll be there. And then offers him ride home, which is nice, in case his mom wasn't showing up. And she's holding something, Michael.
What is she holding? I don't remember that. I didn't write it down.
Oh my gosh. She's like holding on to something. And this is, I do think, going to be a bigger thing. It is the same thing that He Who Remains is wearing in season 1 on his neck. She's now holding it. From the research I've done, there are 2 ways to like travel between. It's the temp pads that they use and this. And I believe this is more powerful. This can do something about teleportation I saw. I'm not entirely sure, but could be used.
Okay. Thank God somebody knows what's going on here, because
that's what I'm here for.
Thank you, Tommy.
Other thing we didn't talk about, like briefly we talked about, is like with OB, he talks about how he can't get into the system anymore. Someone blocked him out. Who do we? I think we're being led to believe it's Renslayer. To your point, I think it could be OB. I think this could be a whole like, oh, sorry, I'm locked out, even though I created the system and somehow there's no cheat code for me to undo this entirely. Okay, yeah. OB.
Yeah. The guy who remembers everything, huh? Just locked out.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it. So
we're on to you.
Yeah. It would be weird. We've never seen him in a villain role, so it would be interesting if.
I think that's the move, right? Like everyone's already using actors in this way. I think is very clever. People are going and assuming he's going to be a nice, fun guy because he has that charisma. It's just him as a person. Yeah. I think people should do that more. Take nice guys, put them in villain roles. You don't need to do any work in getting people. It's way more obvious when you pick like a villain, a known villain actor, and you bring them back in. It's like, okay, we know what you're going to be. Bring in Gus Free. We know what you're going to be. Like, we know
he's the villain.
Every time he shows up, we know he's going to be the villain.
Yeah. All right, Tommy. Great podcast. I thought we had some fun with this. Maybe we didn't love everything that happened, but we got some theories out there. So
listen, we make fun of it, but I still will take a show like this over some of the other shows that Marvel has put out where I'm just lost and I'm not even enjoying the ride. Even if I'm lost, I still was enjoying the banter. There was a lot of good comedy in the show. And again, like give me fun moments with Mobius and Loki. I can let go of so much of the show. I can personally. Like I enjoy it. Let me be able to debate about pies, all that.
Yes, sir. All right, Tommy. What else? Anything going on in your world? Anything you want to recommend? Anything you just want to tell people about? Tell people where to find you.
You know, Tommy's Tidbits, Twitter. That's where I am. I'm trying to think. I've been watching just the same old same shows. I started Golden Bachelor with Rebecca. It's good. It's better than the regular Bachelor because at least they're like older and they actually want to find love. I will say my only issue with it is it's kind of sad because especially like not they talk a lot about like their partners already have their first husbands and wives already passing on, and I'm watching. I'm just sad about this. Like I don't want to think about leaving and finding love a second time. That's very sad for me. But again, it's better than the regular Bachelor where it's a lot of just like people just trying to be influencers. I think I talked about this before. I've been playing a game with Rebecca called It Takes Two.
I've heard about this. I've heard it's good.
It's very good. It's a very fun game for couples. It's a lot of teamwork, team building, puzzly type stuff. And the story is also about like the couple trying to fix their relationship. And so it's a really fun couple game. We've been really enjoying it.
Okay. I'll have to check that one out. Speaking of reality TV, another show started. House of Villains, Tommy. You have any interest in that?
I've seen clips. It's spicy.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I could not be me. This is where I realized I could never be a villain on a show because I feel too bad. Every time they say something mean, I'm like, I just want to go to the other person and comfort them. Like I feel really bad about this situation.
Well, so here's the weird thing. Okay, so House of Villains, basically a reality show, a bunch of different reality TV villains. We got Johnny Fairplay, Johnny Bananas, Omarosa, other people I don't know. But the weird thing is like, you get your Johnny Bananas who like, he plays a competition game for money and plays hard a little bit. And then you have other people that aren't playing competitions and they're just really bad people. Like they're like real life villains, like complete menaces. And it's like, so you're watching the show. It's like, okay, you're just like a competitor. That's why people don't like you. You like cheated on every woman you were ever with and lied and manipulated and gaslit. And like you're the worst. So
yeah, but maybe that's what makes it good is like it's different. We don't want just one type of villain. We don't want one type of villain pie. Okay, Michael, we don't want the key lime villain pie. We want many different types of pies out there.
Yeah, well said, Tommy. No bright green villains over here.
It's so gross. And then Mobius is trying to sell it like it's good. Listen, Owen's a great actor. Even he can't sell that pie to me.
No, not at all. All right, Tommy, I will close this out here. I'd like to remind you guys to rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify, preferably 5 stars. Also, please subscribe because we're going to be here every single week with Loki coverage. Follow us on Instagram at Stark Wars Pod. And we also have a little Discord community going on. So if that's something you're interested in, you can hit us up and we will get you in there. But that is all we got for you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.